Hello everyone, Caleb Danzy here with Danzy Design Build, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about basement walkout entrances and what it costs to add a basement walkout entrance to your home. So there are two types of basement walkout entrances. One is more of a rock wall with some stairs that come down, and the other is a concrete retaining wall with a footing underneath it and concrete steps. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the concrete steps and footing and foundation wall type of basement walkout entrance. And so the first thing to know is that any structure that's over 48 inches tall, most cities are going to require that you have that structure engineered as like an addition to your home. So most walkouts are going to be over 48 inches in depth or height. And so the first cost is going to be engineering. And that should cost a few $100s to have an engineer look at your house and the soil and the slope of the ground on your yard and figure out what is going to need to be done there. So typically it's not anything too crazy or out of the normal on a basement walkout, but that is something that an engineer would probably have to stamp for your city. So in Harriman, that is required. And so that's the first cost. And then moving on from there, the next type of cost that we're going to look at is making sure that there's no power lines or underground utilities in the area. And we can do this before we have the engineer draw up the engineered drawings. But that's also another thing we're going to look at, and having the blue stakes come out and spray paint on the ground where the phone lines are, where the power and gas lines are, and the utilities. That's a free service that they can come out and do that once for any project. So that's the first thing there. And then moving on from there, the next part is going to be the actual excavation. And so depending on the type of access that you have to your home, that can change the accessibility. So if you have a small gate to get into your backyard where you'd like to put this walkout, that can have an impact on the cost if we have to get a smaller machine that will actually fit in the backyard to do the excavation. So another cost that we're going to find is actually, what are we going to do with this dirt? Because it might not seem like a ton of dirt that's going to come out of there, but when you excavate that dirt's just going to become more fluffy and really multiply and become a huge pile. So sometimes we can leave that dirt in your property and just spread it out, and it will be fine, especially if you don't have your yard done yet. So that can work. But if your yard's already finished, or you don't want extra dirt to raise the elevation in your yard, that can become a problem. And so trucking that dirt off site, it can be another cost that we'll have to do there. So after we get that done, the footings on foundations, they're pretty standard, typically with rebar and reinforcement and things like that. So another cost that we can look at is, what type of a door are you looking to have? Are you looking to have a solid exterior steel door, or are you looking to have a wider one with side lights on the sides to let in natural light? I'd recommend that maybe if it's on the south side of your home where the sun will be shining more. That could be a really nice option, but the cost for that type of a door could be 3 times the money. So that's another thing to look at. Another thing that we're going to be looking at is the actual location where you're going to be putting in the walkout. So are you planning to use an existing window and turn that into a door? That can be favorable in some situations, especially if the window height is above 83.5 inches for the rough opening. Then that way we can fit a full-sized door with full-sized height for egress requirements right into that hole. And that can work out really well. If you're still looking to use a window, but maybe the window's a little bit lower height, we're going to have to cut the concrete foundation to accommodate that full height door. That can add a little bit extra cost with the concrete cutting, anywhere from $500 to $1,200, depending on what we need to do there. And also, if we have to cut the concrete above the door, we'll have to also make sure that the engineer lets us know and specifies a reinforcement schedule for that header, to bolt on a piece of steel or make a wood header reinforcement so that concrete is strong enough to withhold the weight of the home above it. And each home is going to be unique, and that's the reason why we need to have an engineer come out and look physically and be there personally to examine the home and see what the structure is doing and what the requirements are going to be there. So those are some of the kind of things we can look at and talk with you if you're looking to put a walkout in. Choose an ideal location in your yard or on your side yard where equipment can fit, or where the engineering requirements will be less, so we don't have to build as much of a header or any header if that's possible. And then once we get through those things, we're going to need to get to the permits and fees, which we have another video that we talk about the permits and fees for basement walkout entrance. A lot of times we lump those in with the basement finish, especially if we're doing them at the same time in one project. But one of the last things that we can talk about here with cost is the railing. So all the cities are going to require you to have a handrail that goes down the stairs, as well as a guardrail on top of the wall. And that's if it's above 32 inches, I believe, in height. So pretty much all basement walkouts are going to be higher than 32 inches. And so you're going to need to have a guardrail there. So what type of guardrail are you looking for? Vinyl, those can be a lot cheaper. You're looking for powder coated steel with just a standard 4-inch sphere spacing on the rail there. Or you're looking to have something a little bit more custom. Those can also affect the cost. So these are some things to be aware of. But for like a typical walkout entrance with like an 8-foot ceiling height in the basement, typically going to be looking at around $20,000 currently. And this is in 2021. We're just about ready to hit into 2022. It's the end of the year here. So that's the current pricing is about $20,000. And then to add maybe a little bit of sidewalk, roughly 60 feet of sidewalk, probably going to be around another $5,000 to bring a sidewalk from the backyard around to the front of the home. So that gives you a little bit of a rough estimate there. And if you're looking for a shorter walkout with this concrete foundation type that we're talking about today, if it's maybe like a 4-foot tall wall with maybe 6 steps or so, those are going to be around $13,000. And that would also include all the engineering, permits and fees, obviously all the materials and labor, and then everything else that goes along with the project. So handrails and lighting and outlets, electrical outlets by the door. It's code to have an electrical outlet and a light with a switch right inside the door and right outside the door, so you can plug in any electrical appliances, vacuum or a leaf blower or whatever, on the porch of the walkout. So those would be all included in those prices. And anyway, so if you have any questions about adding a walkout to your home, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you and see how we could help you potentially to get that taken care of for you. So you can also reach us on our website, danzydesignbuild.com, where we have lots of resources on how to price and estimate a rough cost of your basement, and also check out a few of our other projects that we've done there. So we would love to talk to you. We're excited to hear from you, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks.